never had aspirations in the beginning to be a professional. I didn't even know there was such a thing. But I like feeling like I'm not very good, or knowing I'm not very good, and constantly wanting to get more out of myself. Like I have to get better. You can go down the wrong pathways when it's like the outcome that is what you're looking for, the winning. What caused me to do drugs and abuse drugs and alcohol to that level is the same underlying thing that allows me to be all in on triathlon.
Really interested in your psyche though, Lionel. As a person, as an athlete, you never seem afraid. You're never afraid of anything. I think a lot of athletes would maybe feel doing anything like this, going short for arena games, being so good at long course triathlon, is just way out of their comfort zone, and that they would just embarrass themselves. That's just not the attitude you really ever had in your career. What is it about your mentality, you think, that makes you like that?
I think everyone's different. So for me, like for instance, the past 2 months, basically, I've been training with a guy who's like literally lapping me every 200 yards in the pool. Training with a guy who drops me every single run interval. And so, I think it's just how you're wired. I don't want to leave these things feeling like I'm the top dog. Like there's some guys who I think need to train in an environment where they're the top guy and leave feeling like I'm the best in order to, I think, be on the start line and feel they're the best. Whereas I like the opposite. I like feeling like I'm not very good, or knowing I'm not very good, and constantly wanting to get more out of myself and seeing, wow, this guy is literally lapping me every 200 yards. Like I have to get better. And so, sometimes though, you leave these sessions and you're like, damn, I wish I didn't invite these guys out. I feel like a complete bag of shit right now. But that's what you need. I mean, if you want to keep growing, I think you need to have your ass handed to you. And so, I've definitely come to the right place to get that this time round. But not everyone's wired that way. I think I've had the privilege to have some fun experiences and come out the other side and learn the lessons. So like I went to the Island House Triathlon in 2016, which is kind of a similar event to this, way out of my comfort zone. And the first day was individual time trials of a sprint distance triathlon. And I was like literally 2 minutes in last place, behind second last place, out of the water. And I remember walking back to the car, looking at my wife and saying, like, this is so embarrassing. Like, I don't want to be here. I shouldn't even be a professional. But that was like great motivation for me. And I ended up like going and breaking the IRONMAN record like literally 3 weeks later. And so I think it's just how you're wired, and you start to learn yourself and the right type of experiences to grow. And this is an experience that will go both ways. If I do well, I'll be like, damn, good job, man. Keep training hard. And if I get last place, I'll do, damn, keep training hard, man.
It sounds like the journey you've been on in your triathlon career, you really got to know yourself very well. I mean, did you start feeling like that?
I came into triathlon, I'd say, as a growth journey. And so I never had aspirations in the beginning to be a professional. I didn't even know there was such a thing. And so, it was the way I found myself in triathlon, most definitely. And I've just continued on down that journey. It's great. Yeah, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Literally, I've been doing it now for 13 years, and I still, every single season, learn like great overarching lessons and just things about myself and my personality and the world around me that I think will transcend the sport and things I'll draw upon for the rest of my life. So it's wonderful.
You've been very open, Lionel, about your past and how you found triathlon when you had addiction issues. I mean, how different a person are you now to then? And do you still feel you are the same person as then, or have you changed?
I mean, I think your core doesn't change too much. Like what caused me to do drugs and abuse drugs and alcohol to that level is the same underlying thing that allows me to be all in on triathlon. And it's just learning your natural tendencies and how you can be one-pointed at something. And so, that's really what I learned when I started to focus on triathlon. I basically, in the beginning, I changed like a negative addiction for a positive addiction. But of course, there can be problems with any form of addiction. And so over the next 10 years, basically, I tried to figure out how to not be addicted to it, such that if I ever lose the capacity to do triathlon or to exercise, I would like to continue to live a sound life and have sound mental health. You can never answer that if you actually have achieved that, because I'd like to exercise till the day I die. But I feel like I'm in a pretty good place anyway in that department. I don't feel like I'm like addicted to this anymore. Whenever you have a bad race, though, you definitely start to question that a little bit. But it's always a work in progress. So yeah, I mean, I've learned so much about myself from this sport, and I'm sure there's plenty more to learn, and I'm probably going to learn quite a bit about myself tomorrow morning here.
You spoke about how triathlon could be an addiction. That's something that resonates with a lot of people that compete in triathlon at any level. I think they maybe will see it in themselves or others around them. What sort of tactics and methods have you used to turn this into something more healthy?
I don't think there's anything wrong with being addicted to something. I mean, I'm addicted to food. I'm addicted to water. I've never went a day without having either of them. There's lots of things that we need. I think exercise we need, truly we need. I need exercise every single day to be functioning at my best capacity. And so really, I think you need to look at it not so much as I think a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but you can go down the wrong pathways when it's like the outcome that is what you're looking for, the winning. And if your sense of self is all wrapped up in winning or in whatever, like those sorts of things. First and foremost, this is just good for me. Like I like exercising, and I have the privilege to make money from exercising. And so I would do this for free completely. I would change, I would do this exactly the same if I didn't have to work or something. I would do this exactly the same for free. So it's a privilege that I get to do it and actually make a living. That's really the gist of it, though. I would say it's like every person needs to exercise and should exercise every single day. Even when I'm sick, I still exercise a little. I try and do a little something because I watch my brain function better. And so that's really what I've had to sort of tease apart. What's the good parts of this and what's the bad parts? And only one guy gets to win. So I mean, if all of our sense of worth of this whole endeavor is in winning, then I mean that's just that's a horrible perspective. So if you get to win, you have the privilege of winning. That's great. It's the icing on the cake. But it's the daily grind, the daily exercise, and all the great lessons you learn in trying to win. That's really what we're doing it for. And so, easier said than done, though.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, and especially, I guess, the more you put into it, the harder it is to have perspective.
Yeah, I went up and down in those departments as well. Like last year, I have all the resources. I have a great team. And I went to, my goal has always been since day one, for the most part, once I became a professional, was to try and win the IRONMAN World Championship in Kona. And I thought I was knocking on the door. I finished second literally last year at the first World Championship in St. George. And I came off the bike and I was right with Christian. And so in my mind, it was literally you just improve 0.5% between now and then, and you'll be going toe to toe. And I devoted everything to it. I went to altitude camps. I spent a ton of money, blah, blah, blah. And once again, I would say it was literally my worst performance in Kona, worse than the first time I went with no resources or nothing. And yeah, I mean, that's just a very humbling experience. It's a horrible experience. I do this YouTube stuff too. And so it's at least in 2015, I'm walking down the Queen K and no one knows who I am. But now it's everyone knows who I am too. And it's a horrible experience. So that can be difficult. But once again, I'm exercising for a living. I mean, because yeah, it sucks and blah, blah, blah. But does it suck that much? I'm walking down the Queen K in Kona, Hawaii, cry me a river, So it's it's always perspective. So when you have that bad perspective, I'm I ain't going back to Kona for a little while. I need a break from this. And so yeah, I mean, it's just a constant, just putting everything back into the right perspective and seeing when your mind is going in the wrong directions and say, no, come on, guy. You got everything you needed 10 years ago when you discovered this sport and started to get your self-esteem back. Everything else now is icing on the cake, and you may never win. It's all good. It's all good. You may never win the world title. That's all good. You got everything you needed already.